Welcome back to yet another episode of the randInt podcast, but the first one for 2025. Hooray! I mean, hey, welcome back to the fifth year. You know, as I think one of the other episodes we pointed out, we didn't accidentally started with 2020 being season, 2021 being season one. So it kind of goes with the year.
It easy to count, doesn't it? Forgot about that.
So it's been a bit of time since our last episode in December, and that's just because Chandra here has been sailing the high seas, being a pirate, and has been hard to pin down. So we thought we would begin the year with a catch-up episode. So, Chandra, how are you?
Good. I've finally stopped moving for a bit. Very different pace. For the last, I don't know, it's almost been since like May last year. Most of the time on the boat, I've been kind of on the move, moving it from Greece to where I am now in the Bahamas. Over December, sailed across the Atlantic, and then from there arrived in St. Martin, kept sailing along, stopping along, sort of basically just kind of move, and finally made it to the Bahamas about a month ago now.
Wow.
And with the Bahamas, there's a few different regions. I'm at one of the bottom is called the Exumas. Found a spot.
But okay, everyone wants to know, how is the Atlantic crossing, and B, how is the Great Pacific Garbage Patch? Is it as amazing as people make it out to be?
Going in the Atlantic, I didn't see the Great Pacific Garbage
Is
Patch.
it the Pacific?
Yes, but I did, however, see there's lots of just seaweed just these massive patches of seaweed floating around on the top of the water, which initially you're like, wow, this looks cool. But then your fishing line goes off every 2 minutes because you're catching seaweed every 2 minutes. It's slightly unfortunate because there is lots of fish around there as well when the seaweed is around. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Catch lots of fish on the way. Things like mahi, tuna. And sometimes it becomes almost too much as well because they always jump onto the fishing line as you're having a nap. Like, nap time. You hear the fish.
And I'm just Googling it. There is the North Atlantic Garbage Patch because the Atlantic couldn't have no garbage patch just like the Pacific. So did you encounter that?
Thankfully, I did not hit that. But it's interesting. Like when you're crossing, it's kind of just it's just quite chill and quite relaxed. There's 4 people on the boat at the time. So it's like you're on shift work for 3 hours on, and then you're off for the rest of the time. So there's 3 hours that you're responsible for the boat. And usually what it ends up
How does that work when it's 3 hours and there's 4 people on board?
12 hours. So 3 hours on, 9 hours off, and then you get 3 hours on again. So you end up basically on shift. So at night,
yeah, I was like, half the time you drop a really long anchor and just sit there
half the time you're just like, yo, she'll be right.
It's not like you're going off boat, I suppose, when you're crossing the Atlantic.
Well, we did actually. We jumped off for a swim when there was no wind. That was great.
Well, I mean, yeah, fair enough. But it's not like I'm just going
off the boat in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, but you weren't going to nick off to the post office, for example.
No. There's very little grocery shopping to be done.
Nice.
But it's quite nice, actually. You do see some cool stars and stuff at night time as well. It's very... You kind of find like a bit of a groove. Like most of the days, get up in the morning, everyone kind of ambles out of bed at that point in time, and then you change the sails for the day, and then you're kind of sailing along, and then usually you take some slightly more conservative sails for the evening. So if you need, you do another change of the sails in the evening just before sunset, and then carry on. But yeah, good food.
Why do you need to change the
food
sails
along the way?
Why do you need to change the sails? Is this a thing?
Yeah, there's some sails that make you go faster, but when they break,
why aren't they always on?
Problems. So you tend to sail without the go fast sail at nighttime, because inevitably whenever something breaks, it happens at night. So always easy to get the easy thing to fix to break. assume everything's going to break.
But if you got there faster, then you wouldn't have to use it. So why don't you just use
This
to go
is true. People
Look,
have a
logic,
minimum
okay?
speed.
Nice.
It's
Sounds
actually
like
really good.
this is yeah. So is the Bahamas like more chilled out? Like, I mean, it sounded like the crossing was pretty
So
chilled. So is
for
it
example, on
different?
the crossing, it's kind of go, go, go. But it's actually
Yes,
easier to
that
sail
3 hour of
offshore.
go-go.
It's actually easy to sail far offshore for like a couple of weeks because you kind of get into a bit of a groove, bit of a rhythm. There's nothing really to hit. So you're not really worried about bumping into
Because you
something.
weren't aiming for the garbage patch, you know, the tourist attraction of the North Atlantic.
What's the stopping point?
It
So I missed
literally is like
that
Treasure
tourist
Island.
attraction. Well, it would be. But then again, I don't want to scratch the boat.
No. It's there full of wonder and joy. It's somewhere to go diving and see what you can literally get.
Maybe there'll be USB sticks with Bitcoin on them.
that would be the literal dumpster diving. Like,
It would
you're
be. You could
literally.
literally dive in, have a look.
Yeah. Oh,
But then kind of hop along a few countries, stop by St. Martin, Caicos, and a couple more islands before kind of getting here. And then for the last month, it's been very different. Basically, I've just anchored up in front of a beach club here. There's another couple of hundred boats in the same kind of region.
and it's
It's much nicer than the
party.
Mediterranean because the
Oh,
beach club
really?
closes at 5 p.m. and it's quite quiet. People aren't like, everybody here lives on their boat. There's no rental boats or charter boats around. And
Yeah.
so it's actually quite peaceful, quite relaxed. Beach club is
What about the
available during
party?
the day. Yeah, you can go during the day if you want. I'm parked like
Oh,
right out front, so I just swim over as needed. Um, and I've just anchored here for the last month now. So I've literally just been in the one spot for a month. It's nice. It's kind of like time to turn the boat back into kind of house mode, and then just and not go anywhere.
yeah, I love it. You're really making utilization of this floating apartment. Hey, look, I also have been in the same spot for the last little while.
You wouldn't understand. You wouldn't understand this not your house not moving. It's very strange.
And the other thing is like my house stays where it is regardless of the weather.
But my house just rotates around a bit. That's on the So I've got to go watch sunset from different points on the boat.
No, it
At
sounds
the
like
moment, the last
you
couple
and
of
I
weeks,
have
my
had.
parents have been on board, and
Oh,
last time they were on, we kind of moving around. But when our family travels, we tend not to do a heap on holiday. So I actually ended up just chilling out here in the one spot. Initially, I was like, oh, maybe there'll be things more to do. I should go around so we can see more things. But yeah, it was a week before we went to the beach club. So it's like, yeah, there's plenty to do.
that's amazing. I think my parents would definitely get stir crazy or want to see things, but they're yeah. I mean, the other thing is like whilst you were on your boat the very first time, I think my parents and my wife, we went to your parents' place to hang out without you. With you.
So rude.
So yes, dear listeners, our parents do actually, independent of us, catch up sometimes, and they're very different people.
Yeah. It's like, well,
Yeah, yeah.
that's been
Your
me now, and I'm sort of now probably going to start moving around a bit again. So, yeah, it's been nice.
It sounds very relaxing.
Yeah, still working at night time, so, there's that. At 9
Oh
p.m.
no, oh
here
no,
is Melbourne
dear
afternoon.
listener, the tiniest violin, microscopic
I
if
know.
possible. Let's play that. Do we have violin sounds?
Yeah, it really
Do I?
interrupts like late night gin and tonics. Can't do it. Sucks.
No, I only have drum roll. Drum roll will have to do. Imagine that it was the tiniest violin playing.
So that's been me for a couple of weeks now, or a couple of months. What about you? What have you been up
Probably the diametric opposite. Because I took 3 months to go off
to?
to
You've been
Stanford
flying
last year.
everywhere.
Actually, it was going to end up like that, but it got really bad. So, well, really bad being unexpectedly good, which is hard. So let me explain. So last year, just as a recap, I spent 3 months over at Stanford and basically used up a lot of favors so that I ended up just going and getting friends to cover my lists that I couldn't do. And as a result, I didn't really have too much vacation time left. And also, since that time, my brother decided to get married in April. So I've had to shift all these things around to accommodate that because he's getting married in the US. So I ended up working, essentially paying back for all the favors by working all the way through Christmas and New Year. So apart from the public holidays, I've worked basically every day. And there was, at the end of all medical years, which kind of end in sort of end of January, there's usually like staffs change over, registrars and trainees change. And there's also like a giant bit of reporting. It's kind of like end of financial year. So it's like mortality reporting comes out, whatever the plan for the next 12 months kind of gets done. So there was like a meeting last week about that. So there's all these department things that happen. And so I came back, and the bit that I normally do every year is the data for the mortality reports. I analyze the year's stuff, spit out the graphs and things that the department cares about, and then we look if there's any trends or anything outliers that we should actually focus on. And it's, I've been doing this on Excel, and I've been meaning to switch it over to like Python or something eventually, but it's never really bothered because I can just copy and paste it. It's not that hard, but it's also something, because I've developed my system for it, it takes me about, 10 hours, but if I handed it over, and most of it's just messy data. If I handed it over, it would take someone like, I remember the first time it took me like forever to figure out what was where and just to
So if it
piece
takes
things
out
together.
10 hours, I mean, the logical thing is you should take a week off, spend a good 100 hours, and write yourself a program that
Yeah, I actually am. That is one of the projects for this
and
period.
then you can spend, instead of spending like 10 hours every how often?
Like once a year. So it's not that.
So instead, you could spend 100 hours every year updating your software because it's year. Be way better.
Well, actually, this
Think of
this
the
is
efficiency
now
gains.
doable.
By
This is
spending that
now
100
actually
hours, it'll only take you 5 minutes to generate the report. 5 minutes. How quick is that?
So up until this year, it wasn't actually doable because we didn't have EMR, and the fields were like people just make up stuff and get recorded into a giant Excel spreadsheet. But cleaning the data is where it took all the time. Whereas this is the first year that all sites have electronic medical records, so the data is consistent. So I can actually do the thing. So that's why I haven't really tried, because it was a cleaning problem, not a analysis. Like the data is not that hard to analyze. So it's just cleaning it properly. I would go, like, if you had it over someone else, they do it slightly differently. So then it's apples to, like, it's not the same comparable, right?
Look, it has been cleared in minutes. So I feel like it's appropriate to bring up AI now. But AI is great. Cleaning data, clean up. It's quite good. I just made it a whole bunch of spreadsheets. I did really well. Clean it all up real nice.
Yeah, except our hospital's
Gave me the
policy
code
of
to
no
do it.
AI, and it's not, well, it is patient mortality data. It's not identifiable, but so I'm not allowed is the short story. I really did, and I did. Yes, of course, I tried.
It sounds like a job for Ascribe. Audit module.
Yeah. So at the moment, so anyway, that's all done. The reporting's done, and then I decided that what I realized during sabbatical was that when I was away from my day-to-day stuff, it took, like, AI did a way less. Like, as in, I thought I would catch up on projects, but I was like, I'm just gonna have a nap. A lot of times I was just like napping, but it was amazing. Like, I felt the most rested in a very long time. So, but I still had a course to do because I was on sabbatical. So this time I've taken, as of last week, long service leave between now and till almost June. There's like a few weeks of work, and I've still got my private lists and whatnot to do. But I just want to see, like, what's the right amount of work where I don't feel tired? Like, as in, I want to get to a point where I've rested enough that if I wake up and I do stuff, it's not like by the end of the day I'm like exhausted, which is where that's what normal is. I just hadn't realized that's where normal was because I just hadn't had a break from it, and that was Stanford. So I'm like, okay, so like, what is actually sustainable, right? So I want to take first sort of 3 to 6 months to kind of figure out like, and I want emptiness to be an option so that it's not like I go, okay, this is a fixed empty spot. It just has to be empty. I just want to see where I land and then work around that. So just go, what feels natural, and then work backwards from that. So I literally just started last week, and last week was just like a big long pause because it has been a fair amount of grind until then. Like, I don't think I've even chatted to you at all, apart from like 3 texts or whatnot. But in that time, it's also been ridiculous. So last year, like, Sam helps us organize this, and now there's Donna, otherwise known as Jen, who coordinates all this and edits the podcast and whatnot. And she's starting to do a few more tasks as well. So I don't know why you never would have told me to get a PA, but dear listeners, Chandra has been saying this for like 5 years now.
And he's like, nah, it's fine.
I mean, generally speaking, I feel really bad because I'm like, here, put this in my calendar. I mean, I can just do it myself. But I think if you don't start delegating, you just never get into the habit of delegating. But one big thing happened that
things in my calendar. It's like, no, that's wrong. You've got something else there. You can't do that. I'm like, oh yeah, all right. I had clearly lost that ability.
Yeah. So no, in the second week, she was like, don't you have this? I was like, oh crap. Yeah, this is why I need it. Like, as in, it's like, how are you going to teleport from this thing to that thing? I'm like, someone else is looking at it with logic instead of me going, yeah, it'll be fine. You know. It turns out other people are more logical with your schedule than you are.
Yes.
So it's actually been really useful. But also, like, there's this other project that I wanted to get done, and I don't think it would have happened without. But it does mean that there is just a burst of activity that needs to get finished. But also in that time, a whole bunch of good things happened that I was like, I actually don't have, like, I'm going to actually go, nah, I'm not going to try and do them. For example, like Samsung released a new phone. I got invited to San Francisco, like all expenses paid, to go attend the event. And I was like, I mean, I can do it. Like, I can call in favors, but I'm like, this period, I'm just going to do, like, it will be stressful because come April, there's like a rolling series, like a monthly overseas holiday, and it's all transcontinental. So it's going to be exhausting. So if I don't get my ducks in a line now, it's just going to be like the year's going to feel like a shit show. So like, no, I'm just going to say no, even though I really, 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 really want to go. And like, if you were in theater with me, I just whinged about it the entire week this was going on. Be glad, dear listeners, that I just, wasn't there. So that was kind of like this big thing that happened. We ended up having other little trips as well, which was quite nice. And then guests came from Sydney, and it was kind of really nice because one of these people has not been to Melbourne since the like 1990s. So so it was just like, going, hey, was this there? And he looked around and he's like, I don't recognize a single place except for like Flinders Street Station. Everything's different. So it was actually really nice, like trying to find, like, you kind of go, oh, where should I take people? But the question then became was like, what is typically Melbourne? Like, as in, if you go, it's not like find the newest place, it's like find the traditionalist place or whatever you think is typical. So it was a slightly different thing than what I normally do with Tourist Come. So we went to like what I think is one of the top 3 brunch places, one of the top coffee places. Like, then we went to like, do you remember Mocha Joe's at Glen Waverley? Yeah, right. Like, just because of logistics. Yep. So this is like a little cafe that we used to go to during our university days out in the middle of the suburbs. But we went there and like, just the area around. So it was kind of like this nostalgic trip with people who had never been there before. So like the weirdest trip for them.
I feel like,
why
we travel? Why are we going to a cafe? It's like, and
I get it relevant, and
I've also found that because I usually have like a rolling series of people on the boat pretty much all the time, and it's interesting because it's like, oh, they're there for their 2 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever break, etc. Whereas I'm like, yeah, that doesn't really work because I'm here the whole time, so can't be on holiday mode all the time. So, what's today's activity? Going for a swim that way.
You should do like a pre-recorded Nebula style videos. Like, welcome to the boat. It is an exciting time. Here is your quarters.
Funny enough,
like a little
actually, I do have a
orientation.
crew handover document. And I
Of
think I've
course you
also gotten
do.
a little bit more crotchety of that stuff. I'm like, no, I'm going to have a photo in there of how to load the dishwasher. This is how the dishwasher is loaded. All right.
Chandra is approaching his cranky old man era because
100%.
everything.
Even little
Back
things
in my
like
day,
that.
the dishwasher was
Yeah,
a war. Now it's
you do it right. Because the little things add up. It's like, if you put the wrong thing back
Oh
in the wrong
no,
place,
we're getting old, so the
not a
little
big
things
deal.
make us
But I'm like,
cranky.
no, that's what goes over here.
Yeah, and considering your
That's
obsession with
larger
food,
than
I'm sure you've
5
actually.
centimeters, therefore it goes in that third drawer.
Yeah, I would love to see it because I'm sure you've laminated like a ruler on your kitchen table. It's like
No,
measuring
I
stick
refuse to
here.
have laminated pieces of paper. That's just aesthetically
No, it'd be
displeasing.
drawn on to your thing. It's like, do you
I'm
see
going
these
to
two
have to make an
dots?
app
That's five
and force
centimeters.
people to use
Yeah,
the app.
just for two dots. It's like, is it shorter than these dots? It goes in this drawer.
Even better,
Oh,
I'll make an augmented reality app that people can check.
yeah. Just spend the next 100 hours on that. I'm sure people won't.
Perfect. It sounds like another
Oh,
startup waiting to happen.
all right. Uh,
All right.
yeah.
Well,
The other
shall
weird
we move
thing,
on to the random question? Of
oh,
something
okay,
that
yeah.
I randomly have been searching today. But I'd be
Okay,
here.
we should actually go to the random question itself, which is,
Exactly. So,
yeah.
Raff, what is the strangest thing that you've ever Googled or researched out of pure curiosity?
Look, so I have been trying to rack my brains, but I've been a Chandra this time around, where if I ask Chandra a question, he'll just blank on the spot. But there is something really weird I Googled not that long ago, but I just for the life of me can't think of it. And it's because like last night I went to see Prodigy. So, I've had a bit of a late night. Um, that's right, because I'm cool, all right? I'm cool.
What's a prodigy?
The Prodigy, the band.
Oh, right.
Breathe. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Ah,
Yeah, them. They're still there. Well, most of them are still there. One's not so
right.
alive.
The
But yeah. Anyway, um, so the most recent thing that I can come up with is Yang Wang. Um,
what is
like I was
it?
just scrolling through my browsing history. Yang Wang U9, but I didn't know what a Yang Wang U9 was. I was reading some article about like electric vehicles. And then this really cool car came up and I was like, what the hell is that? And then because, the Google phones have like the circle to search thing, I circled and it kept on saying Yang. And then I was like, this feels wrong to type into my browser. Who knows what I'm going to
Let
get?
me search for this.
Let's turn on safe mode. And yeah, so it's a BYD, the car brand,
Fancy.
that their performance variant, and it's called the Yangwang U9, and it's essentially a supercar that is like $200,000. So it competes against the $2 million cars. It's fully electric and fully autonomous. If you, for some reason,
Looks
want
like it
your
competes against the
supercar,
Tesla Roadster,
yeah. I mean, essentially
the new
the
unlaunched one.
that very that
Coming
really
soon.
legitimate, physically available
Yeah,
direct
totally.
competitor
For
that's
example.
available right now. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Uh, but except the interiors and whatnot, like actually looks nice. Like I've never really liked the interiors of a lot of the Chinese cars because it's just like it. I don't know. It's like an aesthetic difference, and I'm like, it doesn't. In my head, it doesn't mesh, right? But this is one of the very first ones that I'm like, actually, that works really nicely. Even the color schemes and everything else, it doesn't feel like off to me. So I was like, so hence that's why I was Googling it, but I didn't know what it was called. And it turns out it's a Yang. So,
And there we go. Today I have learned what is Yang.
yeah.
I'm not sure I could buy one.
I think you should tell your parents who are on
It's
the
like,
boat.
oh,
It's like,
what did you
Mom,
buy?
Dad, I have something to
The
say.
car. What's the name?
I'm proud of my Yang.
So many jokes to make there.
I just feel like like it's yes, it's for the domestic market, but it's not that hard to kind of go. What should we call it? Like, I'm
Yeah.
sure it has a good meaning, but like But anyway, if it comes, I will now buy it just purely because of the name. You know what? It's good. It'll be funny. What about you? What's the most random thing you've Googled?
I had a really good use for it today. So again, when you're on the boat, you want to buy as much groceries as possible at once, and stuff that lasts as long as possible, because once you get out to the islands, stuff is expensive. For example, the cucumbers, $5 each. Like some rate.
Holy moly! Are you in California?
Well, no, they get imported from Mexico to California, then shipped across to Florida, and then in a barge down to here. Uh, Anyway, so I've got all these fruit nets at the back of the boat, and I've still got some fruit that I bought in Cape Verde in like November this year. Um, and so that's like getting on 3, 4 months later, and there was this random thing that looked like, it kind of looked, I don't know what it was, but it turns out it's a sweet potato. Um, Now, it, yeah, it looks like almost like
Okay.
yeah, I can't really describe it, but basically like a gigantic fruit that was pretty hard. And it had started to sprout a little bit as well. There was a couple of small trees growing off it. It wasn't
Oh,
soft and it didn't
perfect.
smell. So I was like, all right, probably good. Um, so I took a photo of it. I was like, what is this? And I was like, oh, it's a sweet potato that started to sprout. And apparently you can grow those sprouts and it's not toxic like a potato. And then I was like, oh, okay. I cut it open and then it was white. I've only seen orange sweet potatoes. So I took another photo. I was like, are you sure? Um, I was like, are you sure?
What is this? Chandra being cautious about random crap that he's gonna
Yeah.
eat?
So I was like, all right.
That is
Anyway,
wisdom, dear listeners. Wisdom
turns
right
out,
there.
did you know there's 3 different types of sweet potato? There is
What?
the traditional orange type, then there's a purple type, and then there is a white
Oh no,
kind of.
the purple type I
Yeah,
did
so it turns
know.
out
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
a
yeah.
white one as well, and it said the white variety is quite common in Asian and African varieties. And I was like, that's where I bought it. Africa.
I thought you were gonna say it's like, did you know that there is natural sweet potato and high fructose corn sweet potato?
No, that's the one you buy here.
Oh, nice.
So,
Well,
yeah,
that's
that was, yeah, because, I'm sure I would have bought it at the local market, asking them what it is. And I was like, all right, that seems like a good thing to buy. 3 months later, I remember these things. Um, so if anybody's looking for a long-lasting vegetable for sweet potatoes, I can vouch for them lasting 3 months outdoors in a net,
that's right. Just put it on your boat, dear listener. You know that boat that everyone has. Yeah, put a sweet
hang it
potato in it.
outside. Save yourself
Yeah.
fridge space. Get a net, hang it in the shade.
Yeah, hang it in the shade of your seafaring vessel. Okay, that's
Well, the other
yeah.
thing I've been doing is now I've been experimenting to see what vegetables can go in a fruit net. Did you know cucumbers lasted 2 weeks, not in the fridge, outside in a net?
There you go. Again, very useful daily advice for people in
Exactly.
seafaring vessels over
If
the
your
ocean.
fridge doesn't, if you want to save electricity, turn off your fridge to start hanging
Yeah,
everything
get a
outside.
boat.
Save money, buy a boat, hang your fruit outside. Logic.
So like so many life advice things.
Exactly. It's very
All
simple.
right. Should we end on an optimistic fact for our first ever episode for 2025?
All
You
right.
want to go first?
Well,
Because I am actually curious what the hell your one means.
yeah. So there's this invasion of fish called lionfish.
Okay.
There's some of the really pretty ones that you see in aquariums. They're kind of like dark and white stripes, and they've got some spikes on them, and they've got like this really nice frilly kind of appearance to them. Um, put a link in the
They
show
sound like
notes.
aliens. Yeah.
They look pretty. Um, but it turns out,
Oh, they're
uh, in Asian countries, I think some sort of animal eats them there, and so they're kind of kept in check. Whereas they got introduced to the coastal waters here, like above Florida, and now it's kind of just spreading through the Caribbean. And a few years ago, a lot of reef was being destroyed where all you'd see is just hundreds of these fish because they've got sharp spines on them and they're poisonous, so nothing eats them. And their diet consists of eating lots of baby fish.
Well, and so, I'm sure there's a Japanese delicacy, right? If it's poisonous and
no,
spiky.
Turns out they're delicious.
So there you go.
There's one thing that people are good at, and that's wiping out delicious species. And so they've turned it into a tasty problem. And so they have competitions to like how much can you catch of them. Normally, if you're scuba diving, you're not supposed to spearfish. But for these fish specifically, you can go nuts and take as many of them as you want. And then they become quite a delicacy and quite tasty. Now, the catch is they do have these sharp spines on them. Apparently, if you touch them, that spine is extremely painful. Might kill you, but very painful.
I was having this chat the other day with a friend where they were saying it's like, you know sea turtles, right? The reason they're like the only species not named by Britain or something because they're just like, the ancient, like the ones that are deep sea turtles, right? That they're really so delicious they kept on getting eaten on the way back to Britain, so that they never got labeled. And then I was just saying, like, can you just imagine, like, just imagine Mother Nature as like, a figure going, all right, we got these things, right? And we let them live like 1,000 years, right? And then it's like, oh, but won't people, like, that's all right. Put a shell around them. It's like, yeah, but won't they break it? It was like, no. They're going to be in the deepest part of the ocean. And then people still find them and go, hey, this is a really cool thing. What should we do with it? Eat it.
Wonder what it tastes like in ceviche.
And then it's like lionfish. Like, I'm just looking at a photo of it. It just looks like a ball full of spikes coming out when it's swimming along, right? Pretty, but it's not like you're gonna miss it. But it's also pointy, right? And someone comes along, it's like pointy venomous thing. I wonder what it tastes like.
Exactly.
I can just see, like, Mother Nature sitting like, what do I have to do?
But they're also a little bit dumb because they're not used to being eaten. And so you can approach most fish, like you go to them and they swim away. These guys just hang around because they're like, what are you going to do? Eat me? Turns out, makes them quite easy to collect.
Nature sitting there going, these guys, they just eat everything. Like, I made this fish and it like puffs up and it can kill them with like one sting. And now it's a delicacy. And now again.
So anyway, turns out it's worked. It's working. And a lot of the areas where like the reef was being decimated by them is now starting to repopulate. Like, it's not perfect, and obviously people aren't getting them out of the deep sea. But this is an instance of overfishing something is good.
Go to your local fish, local reef sashimi restaurants popping up all over, all reefs everywhere.
People have even made like special plastic canisters, so when you get them, like spearfish them, it's like a one-way tube. It's got a little rubber gasket at the top, so you spear it, put it in, and then when you pull your spear out, it pulls the fish off. Because you can't really carry them around either, because otherwise, ow.
I love it. There's an entire secondary industry devoted to how to eat the poisonous fish. Look, don't get me wrong. I find this highly amusing. So yes, thank you for that.
We're helping
Mine
nature.
was a little bit more.
We're saving
a little bit. Well, we kind of screwed over it. Now we're helping. It did get to that location. More like cleaning up the mess. My one is a little bit more traditional for a randInt fact, like keeping it OG. And it's there. So NASA actually was helping for a little bit. Have you heard of the XP project?
No. It sounds like Windows XP. Service Pack 1?
XB. So, the Concorde, supersonic, right? But it obviously got grounded after a fatal crash, and there hasn't been any supersonic planes. So even though it's been decades and decades and decades, planes fly at roughly 10% or 5% lower than the speed of sound, unless you have a tailwind. That's a bit that. And even when the Concorde was flying, most of the time it couldn't, like, as in if it's flying over land, the shockwaves and the sonic boom would mean that windows would break. So they had to fly subsonic for most of the time. And then when they went over oceans, and especially over Chandra's boat, they would speed up and break their windows.
No.
So, yeah. So ever since that last flight of the Concords, there has been kind of this interest, but never really anything, because that's been the problem that no one's solved. So two things happened. NASA created a project called the XB1, which is a single-seater, just one flight only test project, where the specific shape of the aircraft means that you still get a sonic boom, but it's more like a soft thud. So you hear thud, 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 thud,
The sonic
instead of like
thud.
boom.
That sounds way less
sonic,
cool.
Yeah. Sonic tap. But it means that, so they did this demonstration.
Like, all the other people like, check out my cool plane, like it goes make a big sonic boom.
My
And you're like, mine makes more of a thud.
Yeah. Mine one like a sonic grunt. But so they did this demonstration one, but they could then fly it over continental US, right? And that was it. That's done. That was the whole point of it. I'm not sure exactly what the state of it is, but that was the thing. But concurrent to that was another tiny startup that decided that it was going to build a sonic aircraft from the ground up, like, engine and all. Well, they initially partnered with Rolls-Royce, who pulled out. So they're like, nah, we're going to build it ourselves. So there's this video, you can Google this. They're called Boom, like, the thing that they're not going to do. One hopes.
In many sense of the word, explosions, booms.
But they literally built their own testing facility because it was too expensive to do the wind tunnel testing, right? Where they strapped on a jet engine to a concrete block in their own little garage shed and started, like, it's just insane, right? Like, it's scrappy startup sort of stuff. But they flew their prototype for the very first time like 2 weeks ago. Oh, sorry, about a month ago. And 2 weeks ago, they went supersonic for the very first time. And this is the first time, supposedly, ever that a private aircraft, like a private developed aircraft, has managed to go supersonic. Like, as in, this is not a big company building it; it's just a scrappy team. And
hopefully they've learned from another unfortunately named transport company that does extreme travel. Compared to the Titanic submarine.
What are you talking about? That was like, no, wasn't it called something else? The submarine.
Yeah, it was called the Titanic. I'm pretty sure the submarine was called the Titanic.
Oh, was it?
No. Was it? No. Or did they just want to visit the Titanic?
They wanted to visit the Titanic. I can't remember what it was called now. Nah, Boom. So, but the thing with Boom is that
Titan, that's what it's called. That's right.
Titan,
they were visiting the Titanic, however.
Yeah.
It seems.
Boom hopefully is more like, yay, happy, like confetti boom rather than other sides.
No, just whoosh.
Whoosh probably is better.
Oh, that sounds like a good
name. Yeah, I suppose Thud also doesn't really inspire confidence there. Maybe they should just go fast plane, like leave the plane onomatopoeia to other people, because it's really not good. But yeah, so if they manage to pull it off, they've managed to pull off the demonstrator, but if they manage to so their mission is actually really interesting, because it's like very far flung in the future. So the CEO's vision is not just like, we want to build fast planes. It's, we want to make any point on the planet traversable over 4 hours for $100 USD. So it has this super audacious goal of not only building the plane, then scaling it up and making it so cheap that point to point is like, 4 hours long. So their first thing, if they manage to pull it off, is like a small private jet. So it's going to be for the billionaires, but then with the plan of then going to like Concorde style and then bigger. But yeah, so that's my optimistic fact for today. And with that,
there we go.
brings us to the end of the first episode for 2025. So what do you actually? I do have one thing to ask the listeners, which is there something different you want to see this time around? Or I like, any sort of comments or compliments? We did have a listener reach out at the end of the last, near the end of the last season, and that was really uplifting to see. So if you have any questions or queries or any changes you'd like to suggest, please leave us a comment. And as always, like and subscribe and review it on Apple iTunes, sadly, and Spotify. And we will catch you in the next one.
See you soon.